Welcome officially to Pinterest Power for Authors, turning pins into lasting visibility and sales. I'm here with Melissa Bourbon, who will be presenting. These sessions are sponsored as part of my free newsletter, Electric Speed. The sponsor this month is Weaving Influence. I know the founder of this company, Becky Robinson. She is a marketer by profession, and Weaving Influence offers marketing and promotion services. They've also started helping authors with publishing services. So if you're interested in what they have to offer, just go to weavinginfluence.com, and I'm very grateful to them for their support. So let me offer a brief introduction of Melissa. You probably saw her proper bio as part of this class, but she has written many novels, at least 30, based on the bio that I saw. You may have more by now. You also have a pen name. You write as Ivy Cassidy. There's magic elements in your stories. It looks like you've got some cozy mystery, if I had to guess.
Mhm.
And she is also founder of Writer Spark Academy. So you are benefiting from things that she has been teaching for a while now as part of that business. So, Melissa, I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to turn things over to you.
Okay, thank you again for having me, and thank you for being here on a Sunday afternoon, everyone. All right, so yes, this is Pinterest Power for Authors. Um, and yeah, a little bit more about me. I do have about 35 novels at this point and a couple of craft books. I've been published traditionally with Penguin, Random House, St. Martin's Press, Kensington, with some cozy mysteries. And my most recent book coming out in March as Ivy Cassidy is with Alcove Press. I also have another pen named Winnie Archer that some of my cozies are under. I have been teaching for a long time. So first, I was a public school teacher, not elementary, middle school and high school, and some alternative situations. And then I've taught continuing ed programs at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, with the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute here in North Carolina and UNC here. And then, as Jane said, I have Writer Spark Academy. That has been my passion project for a long time. Feel free to take some screenshots along the way in case I move along and you want to come back to like any of my links or things like that. I also do have a YouTube channel, which I would love for you to check out and subscribe to, and that's Real Bourbon and Books. Bourbon is my actual last name. Got a lot of jokes about that growing up, let me tell you. Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay, what we are going to cover today is how AI is changing Pinterest. I know that's something that people are very interested in as the AI boom continues to grow. What Pinterest really is. I have data from Pinterest Global Analysis Marketing Department, my real statistics from Pinterest and my website to show you that this is not just stuff I'm making up, that it's actually got some data behind it. How Pinterest can work for you as an author. I've got some examples, and then stick around to the end. I do have a coupon code for my Pinterest Power for Authors course through Writer Spark Academy, as well as my other courses, just because we're at the end of the year and, in case you're interested. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is talk about social media. So in the chat, some people were saying that Pinterest is a little bit less toxic than social media. And that is, in my opinion, very true. So when you light a match, it burns really brightly, it burns really quickly, and it fades away. So that's kind of the core of what social media is, aside from the toxicity that's existing in those realms right now. So social media posts, they are there briefly and then they go away, essentially. I find social media to be very exhausting. I'm actually not on Facebook at all anymore. I have Instagram posts that automatically feed to Facebook, but I just don't go there anymore. I just can't do it all. There's too many balls in the air to juggle. And I decided I want to put my effort in a place that doesn't exhaust me, doesn't stress me out, and also moves the needle in my sales, which of course is my ultimate goal as an author. So I just find it exhausting. I am on Instagram, and that's mostly to really promote my new pen name, Ivy Cassidy, and the new book that's coming out. So I really did experience that that burnout. And I imagine some of you are there too. Some of you probably love social media, and that is absolutely great. For me, I just needed to find something else that was a little less draining. And that is when I really discovered and dug into Pinterest. Like a lot of you, I had a Pinterest account that I looked at 10 years ago and maybe had a few, recipes I would look for, DIY projects for my husband to do, things like that. But I wasn't on there as an author. What I learned when I really dug into social media, into Pinterest, is that it is not actually social media, which is why it doesn't have that sort of toxicity element embedded into it. So Pinterest is what I like to call this self-sustaining ecosystem, meaning that your pins won't burn out like your social media posts do. They are going to continue to exist and continue to perform, or to show to people with almost no effort on your part once they are posted. So they're going to continue to work for you. This is evergreen content, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but this is what makes Pinterest so powerful, is that once you pin something, it doesn't just disappear. It continues to work for you. And pins that you put up there, if you are strategic and if you understand SEO, and that's something that we're going to talk about here too. And there's a whole module in my course on that, because SEO is really at the core of it. Your pins are going to keep working for you. So that is just really key. So let's just take a quick minute to look at social media so you kind of get a visual and get some context here. So the lifespan of social media, feel free to take a screenshot of this. I just find this very interesting. Twitter, your tweets, or X, I'm not sure what they call them now, they last about 15 or 20 minutes. Now, caveat, there are outliers in all of these situations on all of these platforms. So I am looking at the basic data for average people like you and me. So a tweet is going to last 15 to 20 minutes, and then that scroll just keeps going and things disappear. Instagram and TikTok, a little bit better, 24 to 48 hours. TikTok, if you're lucky, you have something that goes viral. My son had a viral video a couple of years ago with about a date that he was going on. This girl he was going to date from an online dating site. She wanted to hear his voice. Well, he's an audio engineer, so he did this thing and it was very cute and it went viral. I can only find it because I saved the link. So even a viral video gets lost eventually, and it doesn't take very long because there's so much content out there. Facebook is better. 2 to 3 days a post can last before it gets buried. And, even posts that I have put up there, I have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll on my own feed to try and find it if I'm even able to. YouTube is much better because YouTube is more like Pinterest. And so your YouTube videos could last for days to years because, like Pinterest, they rely on SEO. And there is this evergreen element to them. So this is kind of an overview of social media. And when you look at Pinterest pins typically would last for 4 months up to years. So YouTube and Pinterest are really kind of their own side of it's not social media, but it's, if we've got social media platforms over here and we have YouTube and Pinterest over here. So they exist and operate very differently, which is great for us as authors. And if we looked at a Venn diagram with YouTube and Pinterest, we've got people who love videos, people who love visuals, and we do have some crossover in that center section, but primarily we have 2 different audiences. And so they really serve different purposes in our, marketing efforts. The lifespan of a Pinterest pin is, again, months to years. And that is because it is a search-based platform. So again, not social media. Pins last a long, long time. And that means they can continue to drive traffic and engagement and book sales and newsletter signups for months and months and months and even years after they get posted. So if there is one huge takeaway from today, it is understanding that Pinterest is a search engine, not social media. And so this is my question to you. Where do you want to spend your time? I want to spend my time in a place that's going to move the needle for me, as I said, which is why I'm on Pinterest. And that's where the majority of my marketing effort goes. Pinterest also, great thing to know, is not about followers. So it's not about how many, people are following you on the platform. It truly, truly doesn't matter because Pinterest is a search engine and relies on that SEO. So, the followers is often just a vanity metric that people are after, and it really doesn't impact how much your pins are seen, or sorry, your posts are seen. But on Pinterest, that's not even something that you have to think about, because Pinterest is showing your pins to people who are interested in your topic and what you have to offer. So they are serving your pins to people based on their own algorithm, and it's not about the followers, which I love. Okay, so what makes Pinterest searchable? There are quite a few elements of Pinterest pins and within the Pinterest platform that are searchable. The first is your pin descriptions. And I'm going to share a little bit more about all of these things. The pin images themselves, the pin titles, and your pin board titles. So when you use keywords, SEO keywords, search engine optimization, and then link to specific pages that are already out there, or you create content that whoever your target audience is, if you write horror and you're trying to attract horror readers, or if you write cozy mysteries or romance or graphic novels, you've got your target audience and you're creating content that appeals to them, and then you have your pins that are going to draw them in. So all of these elements within Pinterest are searchable and a way to reach that target audience. Okay, here is an example of those searchable elements. So this is the image itself, right? So the picture itself, but how I save that image. So, you'll take a picture and it'll say image 3054.jpg. That is not what you want. You want to save the image with actual keywords because that makes it searchable. That was a huge aha moment for me. The text on your pin is actually searchable. This is your pin title, which is searchable. And this is your pin description, which is searchable. And on Instagram, you can put something like 28 or 30 hashtags, something like that. I put maybe 3 hashtags here. My main goal is to embed my keywords into these other elements. So the hashtags, are just kind of additional keywords that I am trying to hit potentially, but the bulk of my effort is into that SEO, into these different elements. Okay, so beyond these elements that are searchable, your profile information, your profile name, and your profile description are also searchable. So here is an example. Here is my profile image. I've got keywords. I've got my own name. I've got my profile title. I've got author, educator. These are keywords. Within my description, I have keywords. All of these things are searchable. So it helps my feed and my pins get discovered. Here is what I mean with searchability. So on Pinterest, you have a search bar. And within that search bar, people type in what they are searching for, just like Google, right? So I use the word bibliomancy because I have a book where bibliomancy is the main theme, which is this ancient divination, right? So if people are searching bibliomancy, or bibliomancer, or anything related to magical divinations, ancient divinations, Nostradamus, anything like that, my books will show up. I have a book that has a Wednesday Addams theme in the mystery and in the book cover. So I've embedded those keywords into all my pins related to that particular book. So if people are searching Wednesday Addams books, my book will show up, maybe not on the first page, but it's going to show up in that feed. So it just kind of depends on what keywords somebody has put into the search bar and how that relates to what keywords I embedded into all of my pin information. Cozy mystery books with ghosts. Again, these are keywords I've embedded into this particular book, so it's going to show up. So all of these things are searchable, and that's what that means. Why does Pinterest, though, work for us as authors. Okay, this I find super, super interesting as a teacher. Everything comes down to data and moving the needle for your students. And so I love looking at the stats here and the data because that is, where I find the truth lies, right? 537 million people worldwide use Pinterest every single month. That is a mind-boggling number. There's 37% growth every month on Pinterest. So it is not a stagnant platform. It is continuing to grow. 99 million of those users are in the US. So huge, huge numbers. I don't have an exact number, but millions of people interact with book-related content every single month. And there is a ton of book-related content. I didn't even ever think about using Pinterest for books 10 years ago. But now you search any kind of genre, any kind of book question, and you're going to get responses. You're going to get pins that will show up. So, our target audience, our readers are out there. A few other interesting statistics. So 80% of US moms use Pinterest, 1 in 2 millennials, 1 in 2 Gen Zers, 76 of US millennial women, 40% of US millennial men, 50% of US adults. I know there's a lot of international people here, so sorry, this is a little bit more specific to US, but we know 537 billion people worldwide are on Pinterest. So the statistics for all countries and languages is huge. 1 in 3 US dads, and this is important, I feel like 57% of US users, and probably this applies across the board, have a household income of $100,000, which means probably they can afford to buy a book or two. And then 69% of users are women. Oh, now there are some men in this chat I saw around this program. Male authors are very underrepresented on Pinterest. So you have a very keen opportunity as a male author to almost be an early adopter on Pinterest to reach your readers there, because there are not that many male authors on there right now. Okay, what are people searching for? They are searching for home decor, fashion, travel, food recipes. And books and literature. It's in the top 5. And many of these users, I don't know what that says, that's a spelling error, are actively searching for book recommendations and author content. 1.5 billion pins are saved every single week. Okay, pins being saved is a very important number to understand because, and I'm dating myself here, but there was an old shampoo commercial. I think it might have been Fabergé or something. And it was like, you tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends. And, there's exponential growth. That's what saved pins represent. So if I pin something about my book and somebody else finds it very interesting and they save it to one of their boards, now my pin can be discovered in 2 different ways, from my pin itself and from this other person who has saved it. 10 million Pinterest boards are created every single week. And then Pinterest Predicts, which is one of their analytic programs, has an 80% success rate in their trend forecasting. So when you look at Pinterest trends, you can apply that to the pins that you are putting up there. For example, seasonal pins, which are huge, and tap into that. So you use Pinterest's own trending forecasting to help you know what to pin, because that's a big question I get all the time. Well, what do I even pin? So Pinterest, you guys, is the platform for that long-term visibility. So there has been a huge impact in my writing journey, my author journey, since I started using Pinterest. And here are some statistics to underscore how I know that. So these are real stats from my Pinterest and my website. So the great thing about Pinterest, when you have a business account, which you all need to have, business account, your personal account can be converted into a business account. And if you don't have a Pinterest account, just start with a business account. And it's free. So it's just taking you to a different sort of side of Pinterest. And what that does for you is it gives you access to a pretty robust analytics page or information on your data dashboard. So if I look at a period of time, so this is a 30-day period from last December to January. And look at these numbers. So 84,000 impressions. That means my pins were seen 84,000 times. I had engagement. So people actually interacting with my pins 13,000 times. Outbound clicks. And this is the most important metric for me. I want to know how many people are from my pins clicking out of Pinterest and to wherever it is I'm sending them. This is another hugely different aspect of Pinterest compared to social media. People go onto social media and they have the ability to have that endless scroll, right? And they're interacting and it's a social, these are social platforms. So there are communities and things like that. They're not going onto these platforms with the intention or the desire to leave those platforms. People on Pinterest are searching for something, right? They're going there with some intention. And so if they're looking for holiday romance books right now, then they find their holiday romance books. When they put that into the search bar, they click on the ones that look interesting, and then they're going to click out of Pinterest to go look at them or to buy them, or alternatively, they will save them to a board if it's interesting to them. So that outbound click metric is really, really telling to me. I had 1,000 saves, 65,000 total audience, and of that audience, 6,000 were very engaged with my particular content. Okay, now if I jump to a 90-day period, this is October of last year through January, those numbers are just exponentially larger. 245,000 impressions. I had almost 13,000 outbound clicks. So again, to me, those numbers are phenomenal because I'm not getting those numbers. I would never get those numbers from my Instagram posts or my Facebook posts or my tweets or anything like that. So this is where I want to put my effort, because this is actually driving people to my website, to my books. Okay, so here's another example. So this is after 6 months of when I sort of dug back into Pinterest, which was around, I think it was like 2020-ish. So I had, you can see, an 1,100% increase in impressions, 715% increase in engagement, 3,200 increase in total audience. Okay, this is January of 2025. So if my impressions in 2020 were 46,000 or maybe like 2021, and then they jumped up to 90,000 and 13,000 in engagement. So that's from 587 to 14,000. That again is just a great number.
Melissa,
so it tells, yes.
Sorry, before you continue, just to make sure people all understand what these words mean, could you again define what an impression means versus engagement?
Sure. So an impression means that my pin has shown up on somebody's feed. So it has appeared. Pinterest has served it to this person who is searching for Christmas books with ghosts, for example. So it doesn't mean they've clicked on it. It means that they have potentially seen it in their feed because Pinterest has served it to them. So it's been there for somebody to see and click on. Engagements means people who have actually clicked on it. So the impressions is great. The more impressions you have, obviously, then statistically, the more engagement you're going to have, and the more outbound clicks you're going to have. So 90,000 impressions, meaning my pins at that point had been potentially seen, served by Pinterest 90,000 times, and 14,000 engagements happen. Now that could mean, it doesn't mean 14,000 individual people necessarily. That's what this is. So if I had engagements of 13,000, okay, that means 13,000 clicks happened on my pins. An engaged audience is 6,000 and 6,000. 13,062. Sorry, on my husband's home. So this means of the 13,000 people, there were repeats right there. So there were 6,000 people that were actually engaged with my content, but there were 13,000 engagements. So 6,000 people, like people might have clicked on this pin or that pin or the other pin, but it's the same person. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. And then I just also want to confirm for folks that this is all organic,
Mhm.
meaning you didn't
Yes,
pay for any of this to
correct.
happen. This is just
Organic.
happening of itself.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't pay for anything on Pinterest. I don't pay for placement or any of that. And ads have never worked for me. I don't use Amazon ads. I don't use Facebook ads. They've never really worked for me. And I don't want to. If I can have results without paying, I would rather do that. So this is all organic.
And
Um,
then one more question about those outbound clicks.
yes.
When people are clicking, where generally are you having them go? Are they going to your site? Are they going to Amazon? Somewhere
So
else?
both. I have a slide and we'll talk about that in just a second. But
Great.
yeah, they're going essentially to wherever it is you want to send them. And I'll talk about that in a sec.
Terrific.
Okay, so yes, organic impressions and engagement. So these you can see this is my organic engagement. These are pins I created in a 30-day period and book, recipe, because I have recipes on my site. Book quotes. Quotes are very, very popular. This was a lead magnet and then book quotes. So these are the top pins during this 30-day period. So if you look at all those big numbers that I had, these were the top pins that were getting those clicks and that engagement. So it's working for my books. People are being exposed to my books in a variety of ways. All right. So now let's look at the statistics on my website. So this is WordPress. If you have WordPress and you have the ability to look at insights, then you can see where your traffic is coming from. So if I look at my insights and my traffic on my website, Pinterest and Pinterest Canada in this particular screenshot are the top two refers to my website. So the majority of people of these 16,000 sessions, meaning, this many people are coming to my website, the majority of them are coming from Pinterest and then from Pinterest Canada. And then this is Pinterest Australia. So Pinterest is always number one. Pinterest Canada, Pinterest Australia are always in the top 10. So Pinterest is driving people to my website. Okay. And then page views means that, okay, if I have had 16,000 people coming to my website, 1,000, about 1,100 or so are exploring further in my website. That was from this particular screenshot. So that means they're not just going and bouncing right off. A number of them are going and staying and exploring further, which is what I want, whether that's signing up for my newsletter or exploring further in a book or whatever. So Pinterest is driving that traffic to my website. Okay, so I mentioned recipes. If you have a hook of some sort or an interest that somehow can connect to what it is you write, that's a great thing to embed into your website and to create pins about. So this particular Spanish rice pin that I created is one of my most popular. So when I took this screenshot, it had 12,000 clicks, which is, crazy. Spanish rice. Who knew it was that popular? But you say, okay, how does that help me as an author? Well, people click onto this page and there is a link to my book that this recipe is in. There's, of course, the recipe itself. There's a link to the series, and then there's an excerpt. So I'm exposing people, bringing awareness to this particular book and this particular series through the pin that brought them to my website. And then once they're on my website, they're prompted instantly to join my newsletter. And I'm sure you know that your newsletter is your greatest asset as an author. So I want people choosing to join my newsletter. And once they're on my website, they're prompted to do that, and I get newsletter signups every single day. Okay, so then I can look at my KDP. I do have, I got the rights back to one series. I have another series that went straight to indie, and so I can see the direct correlation there. So here's when I started digging into Pinterest more seriously, and you can see there was just a downward here, and it was basically a flat line. So as I said, no Facebook ads, no Amazon ads, very little social media because I just can't do that. And so the only correlation that I can make logically is that it is Pinterest that is driving these sales. 2025 can't be calculated yet, but I mean it's way up here. So I mean it's definitely working in increasing exposure to my books and sales of my indie books, which I can see, and then in my royalty statements, I can see how my other books are doing. The only correlation, the only thing that has changed for me is Pinterest. So that's how I make that connection. Okay, so if you have a business account, which again you all need, you use Pinterest Analytics, and it's going to tell you how many people have saved any of your pins, the impressions, the outbound clicks, meaning which pins are people clicking to go out of Pinterest to wherever it is you're saving them, your top performing pins, and your engagement. So, how many people are engaging with your content? This is great information because it can inform what you do in the future. So, if you're putting up recipe pins because you happen to have recipes in your books or something, but they're not working, like they're not responding, people are not responding to them, then you know, okay, I'm not going to put my effort into that type of pin, or I need to figure out what I need to do differently with that type of pin, design wise, to get more people interested, right? So the analytics can help inform you about what is working, what is not, what to do moving forward. So you can adjust your marketing strategy on Pinterest based on real data, which I find to be amazing and very, very helpful. Okay, so an author's Pinterest strategy. There are 3 goals that we have as authors. And that is number 1, to drive people to our websites, to grow our email list / newsletter subscriber list, and to promote our books and our author brand. Those are our 3 goals. How does that happen? Well, you have great content, you have a great image, you have a call to action, and all of that is going to equal or result in traffic that's going to convert to sales. And I'm going to talk about that content. That was the question Jane brought up a moment ago. So what do you pin as an author? Well, obviously you pin your books, right? You can pin just your cover. You can pin, so this is a quiz I created because my new book coming out has a witchy theme. So I created this quiz on what kind of witch would you be, right? So I have pins about that. I have a blog post. So back in the day, I've been in this business for 17 years or so. And I, like everybody else, had a blog, but it had no intention and no purpose. Now I have a blog with a lot of intention and purpose. Every single blog post that I write, I think, who's going to want to see this blog? And what pins can I create to drive people to this blog? Because again, once I get them on my website, I'm exposing them to me, to my author brand, to my books, and to my newsletter. So I do blog like twice a month. And I do that with the intention, knowing that I'm going to create pins that are going to bring people to my website. Now, my book pin can bring people straight to Amazon, or it can bring people to my book page on my website, or to an independent bookstore or some other retail site. So you can direct people to a variety of places for a variety of reasons. Again, another book cover. This is a book cover with some background. So if you change up the design, you're making it more appealing, possibly. And you've got the call to action here. This was a book cover reveal that led to my new website where there was more information about that book. This is a blog post. This is the quiz. This is another blog post. This is my newsletter, a book, and another book teaser. So you can direct people to a variety of places with different types of pins. Your goal is to offer people what they want. So you've got to almost get into the mind of your target audience and think, what would they be searching? And how can I show up in response to that search? So it's, how everybody tells us when we're marketing, think of that one person. Who are you? Who's your ideal reader? So we want to get into the mind of our ideal reader and think, okay, what bookish content are they looking for on Pinterest? And then how can you be in response to that? So you want to share things about your writing world. So again, books, but this is a seasonal post. So I have seasonal keywords embedded into the pin, the title, the description, so that it's serving leading up to Halloween. Seasonal pins, people don't start searching for Halloween books, for example, or fall themed books in October. They're searching in August because pinners are planners. So they are thinking ahead and thinking, what books am I going to read this fall? And so they're either going ahead and buying them, or they're joining the newsletter, or they're saving them to their own fall themed book board. So that's how a seasonal trend can be so valuable to us. Audiobooks, blog posts. This was a very popular blog post that I wrote on creating a cozy reading nook. And this is my sunroom, my cozy reading nook. And I just wrote a blog post on it and created a bunch of pins, and they're very popular. So again, thinking about what your audience might enjoy. This is my lead magnet. So I offer a free novella to people that sign up for my newsletter. So I want to make sure that there's a call to action and people are understanding. Click here and you're going to get a free book. And then recipes or some other element on your website. You want, things that are going to drive people to your website. Okay, more examples. So maybe take a screenshot of this. Blog posts, writing tips, because writers are readers also. So if you're reaching people who are writers and you have writing tips to share, they're also readers. If they are interested in the type of thing that you write, then you can convert them to your readers. Quizzes and quotes and things like that. I pull quotes from my books. As I said, I did that witchy quiz. You can do book recommendations. People always love book recommendations. And this is another type of blog post I put up now and again, which is, for example, 10 great holiday themed cozy mysteries to read. Well, guess what? 2 of those books on my list of 10 are mine. And the other 8 are other books that I like or feel like I can recommend. So when people are searching for what are some great holiday cozy mysteries to read, my pin shows up and here's a list of 10, click, and then they're exposed to my books again. Behind the scenes content. So things about your author journey, because aspiring authors, new authors, they're all interested in that writing world. Things about your workspace, your bookshelf, so that behind the scenes of an author's life. Lead magnet, pins, your books, obviously. Pinterest is all about aesthetics also. So you really want to showcase visual elements about your books. So think about tropes, for example, enemies to lovers if you write romance, second chance, deadly secrets if you write mysteries or romantic suspense, conspiracy, alien attacks if you're sci-fi or first contact. So you want to think about tropes within the genre that you write and how you can tap into that visually. Because, for example, Christmas aesthetic is a popular search term on Pinterest, as would be homecoming aesthetic, for example. So the aesthetic, that's just kind of a catch-all keyword for anything visual related to that particular topic. So you want to think about what aesthetic boards can you create? And then quotes from your book or your books, sharing other elements, who would play your characters in the movie or the TV show, things like that. Okay, and then you can be very specific with your genre information. So again, thinking really genre related, if you are somebody that loves historical novels set in World War II, then as an author, and that's what you write, you want to think about, okay, what kind of pins can I create that are going to direct people to my website or to this blog post that I wrote, or to Amazon because I have this historical novel set in 1941 or something. So basically, the places you can direct people are your website, your book pages on your website, specific your retail book pages, and blog posts. So that, I think that answers the question earlier, Jane, but you can direct people to wherever it is you want to direct them. Okay, there are a variety of types of pins. So we're going to
if you're wondering how Pinterest can actually help,
we are going to just look at these briefly. There is the standard pin, which is just a static image. So it's very visual, and it can be text heavy. It can be purely text, text and image. It can have this overlay. It can be instructional, informative. It can be like my dogs, who are normally very lovely, today not so much. You could do video pins. If you don't mind being on video, you can do writing tips. This is a bloopers pin. This is a writing tip. This is an animated pin, thanks to Canva and BookBrush. They have ways that you can animate elements of your pins, whether that's the book flying in or your text bouncing or whatever it is. These are videos of that I created painting bricks with book covers. So video pins are a great way to engage with potential readers. And then your product pin. So within Pinterest, there is a way to create a product pin. Now, unfortunately, doesn't work with Amazon because Amazon strips their metadata, and so Pinterest and Amazon in terms of sharing that metadata don't work, but you can direct people to product pins, meaning they're going to get the price and a little bit of information about your product if it's, say, on Barnes and Noble, or if it's on Kobo, or if it's on some other retail site. But regardless, you're just sharing your product, which is your book, most likely. Okay. AI can help batch your pin ideas. Now, there's a spectrum of where people fall on how they feel about AI, which completely understandable. I am kind of the belief that AI is here to stay, so I've got to figure out how to use it and use it responsibly and use it to streamline my process. So I use AI for pin titles, for example. So I can say I wrote this blog post on witches in the Chesapeake Bay area in the 1800s or something like that. I come up with 10 potential Pinterest titles based on that topic, and boom, 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 it's going to give me that list. So now I have 10 titles that I can work with, finesse, decide if they're going to be right for my pins, and it has streamlined my process a lot. The bottom line is what is called fresh pins for Pinterest, and that means that you can take a single link, a single concept, a single blog post, a single retail link, and create multiple pins that are going to direct people to the same place. So if I have that blog post on the Chesapeake Bay, for example, I can create 10 different pins using templates on Canva. So it makes my life very, very easy, and it makes the process very quick, that are all going to direct people to that same blog post. And if I share them or save them in different boards, I give them different titles. So now Pinterest sees those as what they call fresh pins or original pins. So I'm not having to write all of these blog posts because I can only pin something once. No, I write one blog post and pin about it many, many times. So you can really, really streamline and batch create to streamline your process to make things much easier. That's probably the one thing that people struggle with conceptually, is how am I supposed to create all of these pins? Well, use AI if you are so inclined, or just spend a little bit of time batch creating title ideas and descriptions, and use templates. So I have a template. I have templates in my course, for example, and I just open it up and I change the words and I plug in a new picture, and boom, that's done. Okay, now I want to kind of wrap up with how AI is actually changing Pinterest and why it is actually more important than ever for you to be uniquely you. So, of course, more people are using AI tools. So, it's not that hard to detect when somebody has used AI and hasn't, taken it and made it their own, finessed it in some way. And so when you write your description or when you have your title that that's specific to your content and your book and who you are and your voice, that is going to shine in a world of AI content. Pinterest knows that AI pins are infiltrating Pinterest, and they have responded using their own AI system to mark those pins as AI generated. So basically, it's just like a tag that says this is an AI generated pin. So if you don't want to look at those, you can filter them out, or you can say I'm not going to click on that because that was AI generated. So it's a way that Pinterest has worked to address that problem for those of us who don't who want to look at something that's authentic, not something that's only AI created. So that's what AI has done. And that means that, so again, your content that is authentically you with your voice, leading to blog posts written by you, things like that, are standing out on Pinterest and are not labeled as AI. And, that is what people want. We want things that are authentic more than ever. So, but again, AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere, right? So I use AI for brainstorming, for not bulk creation, meaning I'm not going to say, create pins for me, but give me 10 title ideas that I can then, finesse. Keep visual. Oh, so you using AI to do these things, but then you want to keep your visuals very branded, very human, very you, using Canva, stock imagery, book brush, things like that. You want to make sure that every pin leads somewhere valuable. And that meaning like to a blog post, to your book site, to your retail site, things like that. And then you want to, again, use the analytics that Pinterest offers to track what's working and to refine. So you're not using AI to do this creation, but you can use AI to kind of help streamline your process. So your human creativity plus the efficiency that AI can offer you, if you find a way to do that, can truly have a positive effect on your Pinterest pin creation process. Now, if you want to take a screenshot of this, these are just two articles that are talking about what Pinterest is doing to kind of address these issues. If that's something that you're more curious about and want to explore a little bit more. Okay, so the bottom line, you guys, is that Pinterest, when you use it smartly, when you create a system, when you use it with intention, when you use SEO, those keywords, it is going to have a positive effect. Now, it is not an overnight type of a success program. So it does take time to build up. So you can't start pinning today and expect to see results tomorrow. You pin consistently, you set up a system that works for you, whether that means 1 pin a week, 3 pins a week, 10 pins a week, whatever you feel like you can do. It doesn't matter. I mean, obviously you want to build up to a little bit more, but as long as you are consistent, then Pinterest is going to start to see what it is you offer, to understand who they should serve this content to, and then they will begin doing that. So they have to index your pins, read those keywords, figure out what you offer, and then over time, once you are consistent and they're able to do this, then they're going to start showing your pins to the right people. So the bottom line is you commit to it. You say, yes, I'm going to do this. I see the value in this. And then you're consistent about it. And you give it a couple months. Don't quit. Don't give up. Okay. So when you are consistent, you will see Increased book visibility, meaning your books are going to start appearing in searches and recommendations when you have used those keywords to hit the right people. You're going to see an increase in your website traffic. You're going to see a growth in your email subscribers. You're going to see the long-term marketing impact this has, because you're going to see your pins resurfacing, especially when you start thinking in terms of evergreen content. And you're going to see higher book sales. So these are your big takeaways. When you commit to this, when you decide, yes, Pinterest is a marketing strategy I can get into, in a couple of months, these are the things that you're going to see. Okay. Just a recap of the big takeaways. Pinterest is a search engine, which makes your content discoverable. Authors, you, me, can reach engaged readers because there are 537 billion Pinterest users out there, and a lot of them are readers. And you know what? I've been invited to speak at a quilting conference a couple of times because I have one book series that is fashion related. Not everybody at that quilt conference came to see me, but about 100 people did, and a lot of those people bought my books. So you can find people that will connect with you, not as a reader, but as connected to something else that you offer that is related. Like maybe you have a Colorado snowy book, and so you want to reach skiers and winter lovers and things like that. So a lot of those people are going to be readers, but that's not, you're not trying to say, oh, I'm only going to reach readers who like to ski. No, you want to reach skiers and snow lovers. And some percentage of those people are also readers. So you want to figure out how you can connect with readers on different levels. SEO optimized pins are the things that drive your traffic. And then consistent pinning is the thing that's going to build momentum. So these are the big takeaways, the things that are important to know and that you will grow from when you dig into Pinterest. Okay, and that is it. Just a few things at the end if you want to take a screenshot. This is, again, my YouTube channel. I have Marketing Monday videos all about marketing, mostly about Pinterest marketing, and I have craft videos on Thursdays. And again, take a screenshot of this if you're interested. Just for Jane's program and for all of you all, 20% off all of my courses that expires on December 14th at midnight. You can use that QR code or that link right there, and at checkout use Friedman20 to get that 20% off if you are interested in that.
So the first question I'm going to ask you has to do with managing multiple Pinterest accounts. There are a lot of questions from people who maybe they write different things. They might want to pin different types of things. They're wondering, what if I have two business accounts? Can I have two business accounts? Can I mix two personal accounts in one business? So whatever guidance you might have on managing multiple accounts would be welcome.
Yeah, that's a great question, and one I've grappled with myself. I have two accounts, two business accounts, one for my author self and one for my Writer Spark self. But what I kind of recently realized and decided is that I don't have the bandwidth to do both. And really, I can embed my Writer Spark into my author account and simply pin both types of content, because again, as a search engine, it's not like people are searching necessarily Writer Spark Academy or Melissa Bourbon. They're searching for writing courses or marketing tips or cozy mysteries with ghosts or magical realism women's fiction. So it's those keywords that are driving people to my content. So there are probably differing opinions on that. And if you were like a marketing expert, you might say, no. But in terms of understanding, my bandwidth and what I can do, I embed those two things together now, and it hasn't had a negative effect. It's had a positive effect. I mean, I don't see any downside for that,
Yeah, I wonder if maybe people end up asking this question partly because other social media sites, some of the advice is don't mix up
Yeah.
your different types of content. I've heard that especially for TikTok. Don't pollute your own, algorithm or whatever. But I don't know that that matters so much on Pinterest.
No, I don't think so because the algorithm is not looking for my TikTok feed or my
Hmm.
Instagram feed. It's
Yeah.
looking for the keywords that I've embedded into individual pins through the description, through the image, through the title, and then through my Pinterest profile, I've got these other elements. So it's not so much that I'm polluting my brand because that's not what I want people to search necessarily. I want my pins to show up in the results of their searches. And I do that through my keywords. So I mean, I understand both sides. I also think that you have to do what is manageable for you.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the bottom line is if I think I need to do both and I don't do either one well because I don't have time, then it's not helping me. If
Yeah.
I can, do it a different way and do that well, then that's only going to be positive.
Right.
So that's kind of how I look at it because I just know time is precious.
Yeah. Totally agree about that one. The other question that came out in different ways came from writers who have a book launch in the future. It might be 6 months away, 1 year, 2 years. Many of them might not have um, design assets yet, like there might not be a cover. And they're wondering, do you have any guidance on the lead up to that launch and what you might do to support it?
Yeah, actually, I have a launch myself at the end of March, and it's a brand new pen name. So I am doing a few YouTube videos over on my YouTube channel about that specifically. But in terms of Pinterest, yeah, I mean, you want to start, I think, 6 months ahead or whatever, building awareness. And if that means building awareness of you and what you write. So, for example, my new book is it's about an Irish witch in the 1850s and her descendants in the 1970s. And so I didn't start by writing about my book or pinning about my book. I started by, pinning about this real witch in or woman that was tried for witchcraft in Ireland and the Chesapeake Bay where it's set. So things like that are connected to my topic, to my book subject, to start to bring brand awareness. And again, those blog posts can be so valuable because you're bringing people to your website and suddenly, oh, you're an author and you have this book coming up and you have a coming soon for your type for your cover. So yeah, so it's thinking about who is your audience and how can I connect with them now in this moment? And then as you get your cover, you do your cover reveals, but you're continuing. The thing that's driving people is not your book that nobody's heard of. It's how you can connect other content to make them aware of your book. So I think that's the biggest distinction that I feel like is so important because nobody knows my new pen name, right? They don't know the title of my book. So if I pin about that or even do social media about those two things, who cares? Because they don't know me as Ivy Cassidy and they don't know my book. So I have to reach them in a different way that they can connect with that then brings awareness to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Does that hopefully make sense?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Okay.
There was some surprise about the use of hashtags. It seems that people didn't realize hashtags matter any longer. Do they matter on Pinterest, and how do you determine what they are?
So they don't really matter on Pinterest. I use sometimes no hashtags. Sometimes I use maybe up to three.
Mhm.
And the only time I use hashtags is really when I feel like I wasn't able to embed a keyword in
Mhm.
particular into my description or my title. So, um, so for example, I might say, um, the Chesapeake Bay or something, which is in the Chesapeake Bay. If I wasn't able to embed that content into my title or my description, then I would use that hashtag just as another keyword. But Pinterest is not about hashtags. People are not searching; they're not following hashtags like they do on Instagram. So that's why it's about keywords, not hashtags. So yeah, you don't want to use a ton of hashtags. It's not going to matter. You just want to think about how do I embed my keywords into those elements that are searchable. And then if you have a bonus keyword or two,
Mhm.
then use those as hashtags if you want to. Definitely not super important for Pinterest at all.
Okay. We'll make this the last question. There are some folks who are wondering about how you get your images. And I think you mentioned Canva, and I know that some folks use BookBrush, and both of those services or softwares have image libraries that you can draw from as part of your paid plan, or even
Yes.
on a free plan,
Even on a
actually.
free plan with
So,
Canva.
yeah, so I just wanted to ask if you have any other recommendations or tips for people in finding that imagery.
Yeah, I use stock imagery a lot. So I use Adobe Images. That's the only one I subscribe to. So, and I don't even use it all that much because
Mhm.
usually Canva, I mean,
Yeah,
the nice thing about Canva is they have Pinterest templates already there
yeah,
for you. If you go to
right.
the design section on your left sidebar there and you type in, Pinterest templates, oh my gosh, there's just so many. And so it's
Yeah,
kind of a plug and play, right? You change the text, there's images and design already embedded, you drag in whatever else you might want to. So primarily that's what I use. Once in a while, if I want something specific, like I've done book quotes and I found images on Adobe Images, my site that I use for stock imagery. And that's like a monthly subscription. I think it's like $10. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't feel like I need a lot of supplemental imagery because I'm sharing my book covers. I'm sharing, content where I might pull in a few images, but I'm also sharing, text and quotes. And a lot of it comes down to those design elements versus having, just this fabulous image.
right, right.
Um, yeah. So I hope that
Excellent.
helps.
Yeah, it does. Melissa, thank you so much for this information-rich session. I know there are a lot of questions that we didn't get to, but I hope this gives people a starting point and an idea of how impactful this activity can be, and how desirable if you have limited time and don't want to mess with social
Yeah.
media.
And also, I just want to say, over on YouTube with specific videos, but also through email, melissa@writersparkacademy.com. If you have questions, feel free to email me. I really believe it takes a village. We are this village. I needed people all
Yeah.
throughout, and I still need people. And so if y'all have questions, just please feel free to reach out, and you can share my email too.
Thank you. That's very generous. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And thank you all for coming today on this Sunday afternoon. It was great having you, and I hope to see you again in a class soon. Bye bye.